right, everybody. So our next topic here is our final shilling out for HBO Max. Okay, it's the final one, I promise. But yeah, recently there's obviously been a lot of news and a lot of yammering for probably the last year or so about The Last of Us. So based on the Sony video game and everything, Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2 and blah blah. There's been a lot of yammering about there being a series coming to HBO, and now it has been official. HBO has officially greenlit a series order for the Last of Us television series. So I'm pretty excited for this because like the games alone are some of the best storytelling, and I know there's been a lot of like drama about, and like, a lot of people didn't like the second one, and what happens in the second one, and I'm not going to get into any spoilers or anything, but they just didn't like some of the let's just say character choices, and then the switching of perspectives, if you know what I mean. They didn't like that, and I get all that, but as far as storytelling goes, these Naughty Dog did a good job with them, especially the first one, in my opinion. What I thought was just it was told very well. It has a very, very gripping intro. And, it's very good. And like I said, if you haven't played it, I don't want to spoil it because maybe
Yeah, I was gonna say, give me like the TLDR, the gist.
I don't want to spoil it in the event that people are going into the series blind. You know what I mean? Like, so like, because if you are going into the series blind, if they follow the game and for instance, if it opens like the first game, that's something you really don't want to know going into it. It definitely has much more impactful.
I mean,
like your first time viewing.
Spoiler of me to ask, like, is it a zombie apocalypse
Oh,
basically?
that's the game. I mean, that's the overall world is an apocalyptic world with zombie-like creatures.
Zombie-like creatures.
Yeah, because they're not like zombies.
They're not like the Walking Dead or anything
no,
like that. Okay.
There's like these.
It's a virus outbreak.
Yeah,
kind of like what's going on right now.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, in some ways. But there's like these spores that came from like mushrooms or something that it was essentially like a parasitic kind of thing almost in some ways. Like it infects everybody, and then they turn into more monster-looking things than zombies.
So they're like violent, and they've got a I get.
They're a lot scarier than the zombies in Walking Dead. I mean, the zombies in Walking Dead are a goddamn joke.
They really are.
Like they're
not even like the main problem of the show.
They're not like and that's kind of like the whole point. I feel like a lot of people who like dog on The Walking Dead kind of miss the point of The Walking Dead because it is supposed to be more about the human element.
Yeah,
that's kind of what
the drama that ensues in that sort of situation.
Living in that post-apocalyptic world, it's like the humans are the real bad guys. That's what actually happens. Kind of like in real life, in all honesty.
True.
But yeah, those zombies are kind of like war. What is it? World War Z. They had some good zombies, dude.
Those things were nuts.
Yeah, those things are sketchy. Those zombies you don't want to
acting like piling up on each other like
ants, and they're fast. It's like Resident Evil kind of stuff. Like not the movies, it's like the games. Where they have like their different tiers of zombies. But The Walking Dead were always zombies that you could kill with low-level gear in a game.
Use a shovel and just.
Yeah, they were never a big threat unless you were just like completely overrun by them, But
they're so slow, anyways. Like,
yeah, they call them walkers. They didn't have any. They didn't have any runners. Like there were no big boss man zombies. It was just like there they are.
Yeah, just dead people.
Yeah, whatever. But Rick, I know you haven't had to play. You don't know much about the game, but what do you think about them making the series? Is it something that you'd be looking forward to with the limited knowledge that you have?
Well, I mean, the whole zombie apocalypse thing is pretty common nowadays. There's a lot of like shows and movies that kind of go by that. But from what you're saying, like the idea that it's like kind of like the Resident Evil games, not the movies, that sounds interesting. Different like levels of.
That's a better way. It's more comparable to the Resident Evil games, and not even so much them. It's. I mean, kind of. It's not like The Walking Dead.
I think it'll be more interesting than The Walking Dead. Because I lost hope and faith. I mean, after like the first or second season, I was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, this show started out strong, but it just kind of, I don't know, it got a little boring in the end, in my opinion. But as far as storytelling goes, though, like Rick. These games are some of the best storytelling just done in video games pretty much ever.
Yeah, I know you and John were saying that, so that's pretty cool. Naughty Dog, though, too. They made Crash Bandicoot.
Were they behind that?
Yeah, fun fact.
They did.
And those were fantastic, so
Maybe we'll get one of those shows soon.
I don't know what
John,
that would entail.
what do you think about the news coming out about this?
Well, this is like the most exciting news I think I've had all year. Right there. Well, not the right next to getting that first Batman trailer.
That
The
was
first trailer for the Batman dropped.
That was good.
This is right up there in terms of excitement for me. Naughty Dog is I feel fairly confident they're my favorite video game publisher out there right now. They did the Uncharted series, which we talked about a few weeks ago with Tom Holland and the movie that they're making out of that, and then of course you've got The Last of Us. Um, you've already touched upon and mentioned it, but the opening segment to the first Last of Us game, the opening mission or the opening story part, is some of the most emotional and just hard hitting storytelling I've ever experienced. It doesn't matter if it was books, movies, TV shows, radio drama, you name it. It was just unreal the way they drew you into the story, and then the way that they let it play out, and the way I was emotionally wrapped up in what was going on. um, and it's such a short segment too. It speaks volumes to their ability to tell and construct a story. And the same writer and lead that was responsible for the game is also going to be responsible for the show, which gives me just more confidence that this is going to be a great show. And while I agree with Rick, there's kind of a glut of zombie television shows out right now, or zombie themed entertainment out right now. Um, I think that this could work because this is more about the characters and the story that they're telling, the setting, more so than the setting. And I really think that this is going to be. I hope it lives up to my very high expectations for it. But I think it's one of those situations where, as high as my expectations are, I may be setting the bar low for what they can accomplish with it, just because of how good the games are.
I mean, if done well, I mean, the series is, like I said, just with this, how great the storytelling was in the games. I mean, as long as it's executed well, you have a really good blueprint.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it has
Sounds like it.
it has the outline and just the potential of being just another just amazing show. And I was gonna actually add, like kind of like you said, the creative director Neil Druckmann is attached to it, but like not only is like that good news, but they're working with the Chernobyl writer Greg
Yeah.
Mazin. So I mean that's good because if you haven't watched
Chernobyl was
Chernobyl on HBO,
fantastic.
yeah, it was
I
an
loved it.
amazing show. And then also another writer or executive producer by the name of Cheryl Strauss, who worked on Chernobyl and Game of Thrones, is working on the show. So I mean, it's and the president of Naughty Dog, Evan Wells. Like I mean, the talent behind the camera alone is just in the writers room for this thing and the creative team.
Yeah.
Like I said, the blueprint for the show is already there, but then so you bring in this even the talent behind this creative department. I mean, it's just got the potential. It's got the potential to be the next Game of Thrones. And the way the story is honestly telling, the way the story is told, rather, kind of like how Game of Thrones is like, yeah, it's a fantasy thing. There's dragons and there's White Walkers and all that stuff, but it's a much more character-driven narrative. It's about the characters. It's the political stuff that's really gripping. Like in like the dragons and the fantasy stuff was kind of just like icing on the cake. And so the same kind of applies for The Last of Us, where the zombie stuff or the monster stuff is just kind of the icing on the cake because the real meat of the franchise really is the character drama. So these talented people behind it with the already great narrative in the games, like it's looking good to me so far, and we have nothing as far as casting goes, but I'm already pretty excited for it. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, the only thing I'm a little concerned with is how they break the story down. If they try and do like the entire game, the entire first game in the first season, and if they're not going to do that, they're going to try and extend the game or the story of the game out over multiple seasons. Do they get a commitment from HBO to do all that? Because if you only tell, I'm trying to think back and figure out how you break that first game
Yeah.
down to the point where
Like, where's
you're
season
able
one
to
end?
exactly. And
Hmm.
and if that is all you get is just the one season, is that enough to tell a complete story that doesn't leave it perpetually like whence the rest coming? If it hopefully
Well,
that's a non-issue. Hopefully, the series comes out and it does well, and we get a few, multiple years of storytelling out of it.
that's
So,
what I think, because I think honestly, too, knowing here's the thing, no, without any spoilers, obviously, but knowing what happens in the second game,
mhm.
they could go a lot of different ways with this series on here, because they could spend like the first game they could spend one season on, they could spend 2 seasons on, because you
Yep.
could fill in a lot of gaps, right? Like there was
Yep.
gaps between the first and second game, so there could be new untold stories that happen before the second game picks up. But then the same applies for the second game, to where that whole story could start and you can see a lot more of it play out that you didn't really play through in the actual game, and then they could continue the story on, potentially. If you have the creative director, you have the president of Naughty Dog and the creative director of the video games themselves working on the series. So like, it's not to say that they couldn't, mm, you know, add new stuff in and just continue it on beyond the second game. So because I don't know if they have any plans to make a third game. I mean, it was almost like 10 years in between the first and second game. So I mean, who knows if they plan on making a third game? But I mean, I don't know. Like, but they could easily continue on and just tell new and interesting stories. I feel like at some point they probably are gonna have to, I mean, get to the second game and just
Yeah.
like kind of go through it. But there's obviously a lot they could do in between those time periods, and they can, tell a lot more new stories in between. So I don't know, because
Yeah.
there's no reason to really limit yourself when like the games are there. We know where like kind of point A and point B is. So I mean, you can have some fun in between there. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm looking forward to it though.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Definitely
Sounds
has
like it'll be
potential.
good.
Very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. So, question is, guys, what do you think about this? Are you excited about The Last of Us? Have you played The Last of Us? And you know what? Let me know if you are one of the people out there who really didn't like the direction The Last of Us Part 2 went, or were you someone who, despite maybe not liking it, just really appreciated the story behind it and like kind of thought that their storytelling powers were still there? And yeah, so let us know what you guys think about that and the series coming out here down in the comment section below.